So I'm a judge on the World Whisky Awards, which are organised by Whisky Magazine, and so at the end of every year, around about the beginning of December, a box arrives for me, a box of whisky samples, and I have to taste them all and score them and write a few words about them. And every year it's interesting because you never know what's going to arrive. And if you're very lucky, it's Isla single malts.
Yeah.
Or if you're very lucky, it's Speyside single malts above 20 years. You know. So the categories are for the country or the region and the age band. If you're very unlucky, you get Irish blended whiskey, no age statement. If you're really, really, really unlucky, you get African whiskey. I did.
Oh no.
Twice I got African whiskey. Of course, they don't have many distilleries, so the box was not full. I got some good stuff as well. The worst whiskey I ever tasted in the World Whisky Awards was a rye whiskey from the Netherlands. I have nothing against the Netherlands. They had some other whiskey which was very nice, but the rye whiskey, maybe it's the rye, I don't know, but I've had American rye whiskey and it was okay. It was evil, anyway. But the second worst whiskey I ever had was an African whiskey. I don't recommend it. But I have a song, and the song is about a Scottish missionary who went to Africa spreading Christianity. You know, you think whiskey's the only thing we export? No, we export religion as well. So he went to Africa to tell the local people about the gospel and everything, and unfortunately where he ended up in deepest, darkest Africa, the local tribe were cannibals. And the only way that he could avoid being eaten was to undergo the trial by ordeal. And the first part of the trial by ordeal was to drink a huge amount of African whiskey. Which he did. He was a Scottish minister. They don't have a problem drinking huge amount of whiskey. But after that, the next part of the trial by ordeal, he got a little bit confused. So it's a song about the Scottish missionary. Do you want to hear a story about cannibals?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Sure.
Of course.
Okay, there's two cannibals in the jungle hunting, father and son cannibals. And they're sneaking through the trees and the undergrowth, camouflaged, and one has a spear and one has a bow and arrow, and they're looking for something to kill and eat. And they come to this small lake in the middle of the forest, and something is swimming up and down in the lake, and they don't recognize it. They never saw anything like this before, so they creep closer and closer, and eventually it becomes clear this is a woman. But it's a white woman. They never saw a white woman before, and she's naked. Long blonde hair, naked, white woman. She must be from Macmura or somewhere. And the son says to the father, "Father, I think that's a woman in the water, in the lake." And the father's eyesight not so good, you know, but he's looking, and then she starts to do the backstroke, and he said, "Yep, that's a woman." And the son said, "Father, I've got an idea. Why don't we get her out of the water and kill her and eat her right now? I'm hungry." And the father says, "Son, don't be so impatient. Just wait a minute. Maybe I have another idea." He says, why don't we take her out of the water and take her home and eat your mother?" So, apologies all round, apologies to the religious people, apologies to the Africans, apologies to vegans and cannibals, apologies to the Irish because I stole the tune. I stole the tune to make this song from the Irish. So I kept the Irish chorus, which is very easy because there are no words in it. Well, a missionary jock near Victoria Falls one day got captured by the cannibals. And they tied him up and they put him in a pot and they lit up a fire and it grew quite hot. With me tooraya, fall-de-riddle-da, tooraya, with me tooraya, fall-de-riddle-da, tooraya. Well, the missionary cried to the chief of the tribe, are you open to persuasion or perhaps to a bribe? Is there nae mercy, nae court of appeal, 'cause I don't want to end up as an evening meal? With me tooraya, fall-de-riddle-da, tooraya, with me tooraya, fall-de-riddle-da, tooraya. Well, the chief of the cannibals scratched his head, laughed at the missionary as he said, well, you wouldn't make much of an evening meal, so I'll let you have a go at the trial by ordeal. With me tooraya, fall-de-riddle-da, tooraya, with me tooraya, fall-de-riddle-da, tooraya. Well, the first thing you have to do is risky, is to knock back a gallon of our African whiskey. Then you run to that cave on the mountainside where a terrible saber-toothed tiger bides. With me tooraya, fall-de-riddle-da, tooraya, with me tooraya, fall-de-riddle-da, tooraya. And that saber-toothed tiger has got two big teeth, and you have to pull them out and bring them back to the chief. And then you have to sleep with the chief's first bride, and she has never been satisfied. With me tooraya, fall-de-riddle-da, tooraya, with me tooraya, fall-de-riddle-da, tooraya. Well, the missionary knocked back the African whiskey, and first he got happy and then he got frisky. And he staggered up the hill feeling flushed and brave, soon disappeared through the mouth of the cave. With me tooraya, fall-de-riddle-da, tooraya, with me tooraya, fall-de-riddle-da, tooraya. There were shrieks and screams and roars and growls, like a dying dinosaur emptying its bowels. When at last he appeared, blinking in the light, he was covered in blood. What a terrible sight! With me tooraya, fall-de-riddle-da, tooraya, with me tooraya, fall-de-riddle-da, tooraya. Well, he staggered down the hill, half pissed, half dead, wounds on his body and wounds on his head. And he hiccuped and he giggled and he said to the chief, right then, where's this woman with the two big teeth? With me tooraya, fall-de-riddle-da, tooraya, with me tooraya, fall-de-riddle-da, tooraya.